First, Sir Keir Starmer has appeared on Laura Kuenssberg's BBC show justifying the Labour government's decision to make the winter fuel payment worth up to £300 for pensioners means tested, essentially taking 10 million people out of it.
The winter fuel payments are now to be targeted. They were untargeted before, and I think everybody thought that wasn't a particularly good system, so it needed to be targeted. Obviously, those most in need will continue to get the payment. All of those on pension credit will get the payment, and we want to get as many people onto pension credit as we can. We want to align housing benefit with pension credit, something that wasn't done by the last government, which will improve the situation. We can absolutely commit, and we do, to the triple lock. And what that means, Laura, which is really important, is that the increase in the state pension will outstrip any loss for pensioners of the winter fuel payment. So that is really, really important.
OK, Laura Kuenssberg and Keir Starmer talking yesterday. The pension triple lock will reportedly earn those eligible an extra £400 from April, which, as the Prime Minister suggested, should make pensions roughly financially even. So has Keir Starmer done enough to convince you that he's made the right decision? Let's have a look at the actual maths of this, if we can, over here, and remind ourselves of the numbers involved. So let's just run this. This is all about the winter fuel payments. And there are two key words. It was and it is now. What was it? It was for all pensioners. What is it now? It's only for those on low incomes who are on certain benefits. So it's been massively restricted, about 10 million people losing it. OK, so what do they say? Two explanations they give, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, and the Prime Minister. She says lots of people should be claiming more like 900,000, about 880,000. Yeah. And he says the triple lock, the pension goes up next year anyway. Now, we heard on the news this morning that Labour might have 50 rebellions, 50 MPs of their own MPs not supporting. Let's just remember, they won 412 seats at the last election. Conservatives only on 121. So the majority, the point, they go beyond the point where they need the votes. That's 326 there. Each one of these is 10. They can lose that line, that line, that line, that line, that line. That's 50. If they abstain, they still win the vote. Even if they vote against, they still win the vote. Labour got a majority of roughly 170. They would need about 80 of their own MPs to vote against them to actually make them lose a vote in the House of Commons. So we're nowhere near that. They've got plenty of headroom. But I wonder whether Keir Starmer might be sweating a bit here, Andrea, because it's just a sign of discontent, isn't it?
Look, when they've got that big majority, you won't be sweating. I mean, I remember being in the Whip's office during our big last majority, and more people feel that they can rebel. So, I mean, he's got a lot of space at the moment, numbers-wise. But I think maybe further down the line, 6 months down the line, you start seeing more rebellions. And that's when I think he'll start sweating. But I just think what he's doing is shocking. I mean, if you look at 9.6 billion is going on public sector pay rises. They keep saying that there's this black hole. The grandstanding with £12 billion on net zero on the world stage. But they're taking off our pensioners at a period when energy prices are so high and they're struggling. And I think even it looks bad. And what a ridiculous decision to make. I mean, they're probably thinking we're 5 years away from an election, get the bad things out first. But it looks terrible.
Henry?
Let's remember why this was brought in. It was brought in 1997 by Gordon Brown.
I know
because pensions had slipped so far behind the average working wage and there was no triple lock. And that was brought in by the former Chancellor George Osborne in 2011. And that triple lock has really helped close the gap between the average pension income and the average working wage. And so it's people often on very low incomes in work who are supplementing pensioners no matter how wealthy or not they are. And a number of senior Conservatives, and I think I saw you retweeting a tweet about Kemi Badenoch, the frontrunner for the Tory leadership, who agreed with this when she last ran for the Tory leadership 2 years ago. She said it makes no sense for millionaires to be getting this benefit. And other people have said the same thing. Fraser Nelson in The Spectator, these are people of the right you should be agreeing with. And all he's doing, all he and Rachel Reeves are doing, is saying we need to target it better. Now, it could be that they have to
the targeting is brutal.
It is very brutal. No, but
you might think it's brutal, and perhaps the Chancellor will listen to the money-saving expert Martin Lewis when she sees him this week, and he's arguing for people in category A, B and C council tax properties.
Go on, Andrea,
Yeah, look, even though I'm no longer an MP, my email address is open till November, the 4th of November. I've been getting inundated with this, so much so, Jeremy, that I got a petition, the Age UK petition, I got it going in my constituency. I was there on the street. Pensioners are frightened, and these are the middle-income ones who are, you know, they've worked hard all their life, done the right thing. We're not talking about millionaires, but they are struggling, and
people quote this figure: 1 in 4, 1 in 5 pensioners is a millionaire,
or lives in a household run by by a millionaire.
Yeah, same
27%.
Yeah, 27% is a millionaire. Okay, Sarah in Surrey, what do you think? Do you think Keir Starmer's convinced you here?
Absolutely not. In fact, I was really quite angry having watched that interview yesterday. I was angry when the apparent justification appeared to be, pensioners rely on the NHS and public transport, so the two are actually not divorced. Well, they are divorced subjects because pensioners, many pensioners, do pay tax, so they are still supporting those services. And those that don't pay tax, it is because of their very, very low income. So I was really incensed.
What about, Sarah, though, the Starmer argument is that next year, because of the triple lock, there'll be a rise that'll amount to about £400 on the pension, which makes up the difference.
Well, again, I think these two subjects are then actually divorced because there will be no increase on the tax threshold. If someone is not able to work, how do they get an increase? And if they do get an increase and they do pay tax, they will be paying tax on that. I checked the government website this morning, and there's a list of benefits as long as your arm that aren't taxable. So whenever those benefits go up, they're not paying tax on that.
I do understand. The
so
taxing
I think
people...
That
Thank you. Okay,
it does not wipe out that winter fuel. I'm not saying that it should not be means tested, but not with the brutal means testing they are doing at the moment.
I hear you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Pat in Bridgend, hi. What do you want to say?
Hello. I think it should be means tested.
Oh, OK. Tell us why I said the last caller was wrong.
Well, I'm on pension credit myself. You know, so I'm not just calling because I'm on pension credit, but I have friends who are really comfortably off, you know. Right. I have a friend who's paying £16,000 for private knee surgery within the month, and they'll be getting pension, they'll be getting help with their winter fuel allowance. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's a good point, Andrea, isn't it? There's there's the millionaire. No,
but at the same time, I mean, I know somebody who's a constituent who used to work in banking, and he'd said to me, you can't always go on face value. You know, has she borrowed the money to
that's a good point. Pat, has your friend maybe borrowed the money, the 16,000?
Has she got a loan for it?
No, she hasn't borrowed the money. She has a house in Cyprus as well that she could sell if she needed to. Yeah,
I don't know. There is an argument, and Henry won't like this.
Go on.
That, well, the argument is this, that she, I think it's a she, paid the tax.
Yeah.
You know, how much tax has Mick Jagger paid? And you're going to cut him £300 a year?
Amount, but he'll have very highly paid accountants and advisors.
Well, Charlie Mullins. Why not give Charlie
Charlie's leaving the country,
he may
as
be,
you know.
But he's paid a lot of tax.
He's paid
and therefore he's got every right to a winter fuel payment.
Well, I mean, look,
but we
it depends on the ethics and the morals.
Who's worked hard all their life and did the right thing.
Nobody's being put. But how much money do you want?
Well, it's a small refund.
Yeah. No, all I'm saying is, look, you know, the pot is not endless. There is no, as Theresa May once said, magic money tree.
It is if you don't work, you can get things. I mean, this is where the care system...
Well, what about those pensioners then who've never worked? Because there are some.
No, but I'm just saying, look at the care system. It needs reforming, and it takes a bold government to reform it, because at the moment you work hard all your life and you want to, as a mum, I want to leave my house to my son. And
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, but come on, you have to pay for your own care from selling your house. Haven't we as a society kind of agreed that?
No, but if you haven't got a house, you know,
then the state will pay. That's true. That's true. Fair comment.
Fair comment. Pat, it doesn't pay to do things right anymore.
We'll talk in a moment more about this. We're not. Now more calls on whether Sir Keir Starmer has done enough to convince you that means testing the winter fuel payment is the right thing to do. Let's speak to Peter in Wolverhampton. Where are you on this, Peter?
Well, I think if this had been in the manifesto, this cut, he would have lost 10 million votes and we'd have had a Tory landslide.
Well, you might be right. And it's a bit like the Theresa May election where she decided to sneak in a policy about everyone having to pay for their own care in old age and basically lost her majority. So you're right, he could have had a lot of trouble. But then it's the way of the world, isn't it? You don't say everything you're planning to do.
Well, if you're going to stick to everything in the manifesto on the one hand but not on the other, then why not just change your mind on taxes and put up income tax instead?
Well, in fairness to him and Rachel Reeves, they say that when they opened the books, they were shocked. They must have been the only two.
Well, I'm shocked by the malice of this attack on old people in winter.
What about the argument that you don't need to pay... We need a good example here. You don't need to pay £300 a year to Charlie Mullins because he's got enough to heat several homes.
Well, I mean, I think the issue is the middle ground. There's about 8 million people who really need it and 2 million who don't, and we should continue to pay the 8 million.
Absolutely fair comment, thank you. Raymond in North Yorkshire, hi. What do you think, Raymond?
I think it's spot on.
The last caller?
No.
Oh, you think Labour's doing the right thing?
Absolutely.
Why do you say that?
Well, it's a bit rich at the Tories when they brought in payment for dentists, and now they're saying, no, you're hitting the poor. We're not hitting the poor. We're hitting the people that's got money, like Edwina Curry and Boris Johnson's dad and all them that don't need it. Make it means-tested. End of story.
Yeah, there we are.
Have you ever voted Conservative? Because it doesn't sound like that. It just sounds like you're a Conservative hater to me. With your examples?
I once got conned when that Thatcher woman was speaking a load of rubbish.
Oh, I can hear that. I imagine you're a trade unionist as well.
I foolishly believed her.
And when did you vote for Thatcher, Raymond?
Oh, when Kinnock was about.
83. No, that was Foot.
No,
it was Kinnock,
no. Foot.
Michael Foot, he was the one whose election manifesto was once described as the longest suicide note in history.
So you regret that? We're 40 years on, Raymond. You're still carrying that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm mortified.
All right, thank you so much.
For forgiveness.
But you think they should withdraw the winter fuel payment from some of the pensioners?
Definitely. You should make it means-tested. Everything else is means-tested.
OK, I mean, I didn't think you were going to say that. That's all. I just thought you were going to say that Labour's doing the wrong thing. But you support Labour?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, but as a person, you can hear from what you're saying, Raymond. You're a person, you know, I've had the quite hard left in my constituencies saying this. They hate the Conservatives. You assume that all Tories are rich when we're not. You seem to have that kind of attitude to me, actually, Raymond.
No, that's what your attitude is. No,
really?
You're putting words in my mouth.
OK.
You're not hard left?
No, I'm middle ground.
Yeah, you said back in.
Let's remember the hard left take on this is that it's a bad policy. He can't be hard left because he thinks it's a good policy.
So I can't work out who's supporting it on the left. Is it because they just think Starmer, in the end, is governing as a grown-up? Is it that sort of idea?
I think he's made choices. I mean, and to govern is to choose. The Conservatives made it very, very clear who they preferred, and during their 14 years in office, they constantly gave...
But why give these public sector pay rises?
No, because we want to grow the country, we want the economy to be grown, don't we?
What? So 20% for train drivers?
Think about...
But how does the economy grow with public sector pay rises?
Think about those strikes. Best part of 2 years, both the train drivers...
They was politically motivated to bring down the government.
Everything is politics, not to bring down the government.
Because they wanted a
The government had an 80-seat majority. No, but the thing is, look, we complain about, waiting lists, etc., and yet we let the junior doctors go on strike for 2 years.
Well, they shouldn't be striking. I won't have anybody on the front line striking.
But you want people to do a job that you and I are not qualified to do. 7 years training and then 20, 30 years
to looking after lives. Right to,
they need a fair rate for the job. I value
Let Andrea come back in.
Well, I value doctors and nurses, but
not enough, it would seem.
Oh no way! But people go in as a vocation in life, and I don't think that anybody should strike when they're on the front line. It puts people's life in danger.
Okay,
People were striking when my mum was dying.
Dave is in Lancaster. Hi, Dave.
Morning, Jeremy.
Do you think this is good government by Labour or not?
No, not at all. I'm going through this very thing right now. My wife recently passed away. But before then, we had pension credit. We had housing allowance and support with council tax. And we had savings, and we were living. We weren't living well, but we were living.
Yeah.
Now my wife's passed away. The government, I've had to fill in loads of forms. The government's asking me about everything. I've still got savings. I've still got bills to pay. Still have to pay the rent, petrol in the car, pay the heating, everything else. And my pension is now looking like going down to just under £200 a week. And I'm still expected to pay £695 a month for rent and everything else.
I think it's
scary. It's absolutely beyond ludicrous.
Yep, no, I hear you. When you're paying rent as a pensioner and your pension's going down, that gets a bit scary. Look, I don't know what the answer. They just say that they arrived and they couldn't find any money. They said that the last government spent all the money.
Yeah, there's plenty of money out there, Jeremy, tons of it. It's sitting in the wrong pockets, unfortunately, and it's time we had a levelling up in our society to give a fair crack of the whip to everybody. But what I'm going through now is I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll have to wait and see when they've made their decisions. I've filled the forms in, I've told them what the story, and if they tell me I can't get my pension credit back, because if you lose your pension credit, you lose not only the winter fuel allowance, you lose your housing benefit, you lose your council tax support.
Right.
There's loads of stuff that you lose.
No, I hear you.
Fully appreciate what Dave's
want to
saying
get
there.
Dave.
Yeah.
They want to get Dave to get his savings down to zero, and then they come in and help him. This is crazy.
I hate that. I mean, and there should be a better and more sensitive sliding scale for those people who are not eligible traditionally for pension credit, but might be. You know, there's about 880,000 or so people who don't claim pension credit because it's too complicated. 243 questions. It should be simplified.
Well, you can understand people are proud. They don't necessarily want to answer 240 questions.
Pride comes before a fall. We have to put the pride aside and say, look, I need the money. Let me go through it, but make it easier for them.
Maggie's in Dorset. Hi, Maggie.
Oh, hi.
Hey, how are you doing?
You've brought up so many different things now.
I know, we were veering.
Confabulated. That bloke that started going on about Thatcher, oh no. Well, she destroyed this country. She's to blame for our housing crisis. Not what I phoned about, but he said about it, so about her. So that's the way it is, right to buy.
I mean, because you're called Maggie, I was thinking you were going to support her.
No, certainly not. I've got a book, The Assassination of Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, yeah, by Hilary Mantel.
Yeah, Hilary Mantel.
Yeah.
And I love Hilary Mantel. It's a pity she's not around anymore. But it's a brilliant book.
Right. Okay.
Now we're going off somewhere else.
No, listen, Maggie, we have to go to our break, and just give us your point in 20 seconds.
Right,
oh!
It's been means tested, not taken away.
That's it. You did such a good job. Thanks, Maggie.